As the sun begins its slow descent behind the peaks of the Kathmandu Valley, a soft amber hue blankets the ancient city. Prayer flags flutter gently above rooftops, their colors faded by time but their presence undiminished. The sound of distant bells chimes in the breeze, calling out across courtyards and through narrow alleyways. It is a moment suspended between worlds, where the spiritual and the earthly breathe together. Kathmandu greets each visitor not with grandeur, but with a whisper. This is a city that speaks in incense and echoes, in carved wooden windows and winding stone steps. The scent of sandalwood and juniper rises in the air, mingling with the smoky notes of grilled momos from street stalls. Dogs doze peacefully in temple courtyards. Children skip through ancient passageways with laughter that bounces off centuries-old walls. The architecture here is both art and offering. Pagoda-style temples stand side by side with crumbling brick houses, while golden spires and fluttering silk create layers of movement that feel almost dreamlike. At the center of it all, the Swayambhunath stupa, crowned with the watchful eyes of the Buddha, gazes over the city from its hilltop perch, keeping silent company with the clouds. Kathmandu is not just a city, it is a portal. Behind every doorway might lie a shrine or a family home, a music rehearsal or a quiet tea house. The streets are alive with motorbikes, robed monks, market sellers, and weary trekkers on their way to or from the mountains. All of them pass through this same place pulled by an unseen rhythm. The energy here moves gently but persistently, like a river beneath the stones. Even in moments of stillness, there is a sense that something greater is at work, an unspoken harmony woven into the valley's daily rhythm. Whether traced in the spiral of a mandala or the spiral of a climbing trail, the sense of spiritual gravity is impossible to ignore. Kathmandu is a beginning, not a destination. For pilgrims heading to sacred sites, climbers seeking the sky, or wanderers searching for meaning, this is where journeys begin. And even for those going nowhere in particular, the city offers a place to sit, to breathe, and to listen. The dusk deepens, and lanterns flicker to life across the cityscape. Somewhere in the distance, a single conch shell is blown, its deep note floating above the rooftops. The city of Kathmandu exhales softly, cloaked in mystery, ready to share its secrets with those who sleep beneath its stars. Welcome to Bedtime Travel Stories, where soothing tales and gentle narrations take you on a tranquil journey through the world's most enchanting places, right from the comfort of your bed. Unwind and travel with us as we explore the globe one story at a time, helping you relax and drift into a peaceful sleep. In the heart of old Kathmandu, where the ancient and the everyday entwine, lies Durbar Square, a plaza of palaces, shrines, and living history. Cobbled stones echo with the footsteps of centuries, and the carved wooden eaves of the old Mala kings' palaces lean protectively over narrow passageways. Here time moves in spirals rather than lines. The square does not simply exist, it remembers. Early morning brings a hush over the temples, broken only by the rhythmic sweep of a shopkeeper's broom or the soft murmur of prayers carried in the air. Incense curls upwards in slender threads, offering its scent to the gods. Pigeons flutter in wide arcs, landing momentarily atop gilded roofs and weathered statues. Each surface seems to hold a story, from the stone lions guarding entryways to the intricate lattice windows that frame the quiet faces peering out from within. This is a place where every element feels imbued with purpose. The Talaju Temple, towering and solemn, stands beside more modest shrines where locals pause with offerings of marigolds and rice. The Kumari Gar, home of the living goddess, rises in red brick and carved wood, its courtyard hidden from the street. The young goddess inside, silent and serene, holds court only in rare glimpses, a symbol of something deeper than belief, something felt rather than explained. As the morning fades into midday, the square grows livelier. Locals and visitors wander through archways and alcoves, past musicians playing madal drums and sarangi fiddles. A small boy kicks a worn soccer ball across the paving stones. An artist, seated cross-legged beneath the eaves, dips a brush into powdered pigment, tracing delicate patterns onto canvas with reverence and care. The aroma of fresh sel roti wafts from a nearby food stall, mingling with the scent of spiced tea and dust warmed by the sun. A man pours steaming milk tea into metal cups, his movements smooth and practiced, while an older woman offers tiny clay lamps to passers-by for lighting prayers. Even the air carries memory of festivals and fires, of mourning and celebration, of processions that once flooded these same stones with color and song. Durbar Square is not a monument, it is a pulse. It holds Kathmandu's heartbeat in its layered shadows and sunlit courtyards. To sit quietly on one of its worn stone steps is to feel connected to something vast and enduring, not just to a city, but to a legacy of devotion and resilience. It's a place where the sacred and the daily coexist with grace. As the day ends, the square shifts once more. Shadows lengthen, bells toll. The gods are tucked in for the night, and candles begin to flicker in alcoves and shrines. Even as the shops shutter and the last vendors fold their tables, the square does not sleep. It waits, ever watchful, ready to dream again. Perched atop a hill that watches over the Kathmandu Valley, the Swayambhunath Stupa, often called the Monkey Temple, rises like a beacon of wisdom and quiet strength. Its white dome gleams under the morning light, and the all-seeing eyes of the Buddha gaze out in each direction, serene and eternal. The path to reach it winds up through forested steps, where prayer wheels line the way, spinning gently beneath the hands of pilgrims. Each turn of the wheel whispers a mantra into the wind, a soft chorus that follows climbers upward. Monkeys scamper through the trees, pausing now and then to observe or play as though guarding the sacred hill. The scent of pine mingles with the sweet burn of incense, and colored flags flicker above like a canopy of floating wishes. The climb, though steep, feels rhythmic and cleansing, like shedding layers of worldly concern with every step. Pilgrims pause to catch their breath, not just from exertion but from the quiet awe the place inspires. At the summit, a wide platform opens to a panorama of the valley, where the red roofs of Kathmandu stretch toward the misty ridges beyond. Here the stupa is encircled by small shrines, prayer wheels, and rows of butter lamps waiting to be lit. The sound of chanting sometimes rises from the nearby monastery, blending with the wind and birdsong into a single meditative hum. Worshippers make their slow circumnavigation of the dome, spinning wheels, offering flowers, or bowing with folded hands. Swayambhunath is older than memory. According to legend, the hill itself rose from the waters of a primordial lake, revealing a lotus that bloomed into the light of enlightenment. That origin story still feels present, not in any obvious form, but in the air itself, in the sense that this is not just a monument, but a place of awakening. Even the monkeys seem to understand, moving with a curious mixture of mischief and solemnity. Vendors nearby sell small brass statues, malas, and thangka paintings, their stalls shaded by umbrellas or tucked against stone walls. A quiet bell rings, then another, marking time without urgency. A young monk in saffron robes walks slowly past, eyes lowered, reciting a mantra with a string of beads. Around him, travelers from around the world stand in stillness, feeling the weight and wonder of the place settle into their bones. Despite the visitors and the occasional chatter, Swayambhunath remains deeply peaceful. It offers a refuge for those seeking answers and for those who simply want to feel something real. The view reminds every soul that journeys have both inner and outer landscapes, and sometimes the truest insights rise like the hill itself, from deep within. As the sun climbs higher, casting golden light across the dome and the city below, the atmosphere takes on a quiet brilliance. One need not speak or even understand the language of the rituals to feel changed. Just to stand at Swayambhunath is to be reminded that even in a noisy world, there are places that hum with calm, where silence is not empty but full of meaning. Beyond the crowded arteries of the city, where honking horns and woven wires define the pace of life, Buddhanath rises like a great white lotus blooming from the dust. The stupa's massive dome is crowned with a golden spire, each level symbolizing a path toward enlightenment. It commands a quiet reverence, even amid the surrounding buzz of activity. Here the world does not stop, it simply slows. A circular path wraps around the stupa's base, inviting steady footsteps in clockwise meditation. Elderly Tibetans wrapped in maroon shawls spin handheld prayer wheels as they walk. Children trail behind their parents, gazing up in awe at the stupa's painted eyes watching from every side. The rotation of bodies and minds seems endless, as if the structure breathes with each completed circuit. The scent of juniper smoke curls out from nearby monastery chimneys, carried on the wind with the faint chanting of monks reciting ancient sutras. Small rooftop cafes ring the stupa's edge, where visitors sip sweet milk tea or steaming bowls of thukpa, their eyes drawn again and again to the golden glow of the sacred dome. Doves wheel overhead in great lazy circles, their wings catching the late afternoon sun like brushed silk. It is easy to lose time here. The repetition of movement, the low murmur of mantras, the scent of incense and butter lamps, it all weaves a quiet spell. One can sit for hours, lulled not by sleep but by presence. No urgency presses against the skin in Buddhanath. Instead, a kind of clarity settles in, as if the mind, normally so scattered, finds itself soothed by the spiral rhythm of this ancient place. Devotees pause to place offerings of flowers, rice, and coins in front of the smaller shrines that dot the perimeter. An artist, crouched in a shaded corner, paints the wheel of Dharma with meticulous care. Nearby, monks file silently into the main monastery for evening prayers, their crimson robes catching the wind like the sails of anchored ships. The chants begin again, deep and melodic, sending vibrations into the earth beneath. Even as dusk creeps in, the stupa does not darken. Dozens of small butter lamps flicker to life along the railings, casting a golden shimmer on the dome and the faces of those who remain. It feels less like a religious ritual and more like a gathering of quiet intentions, each flame a hope, each spin of the prayer wheel a wish sent into motion. Buddhanath is more than a monument. It is a mandala made real, a place where the inner and outer worlds meet. Its stillness holds 1,000 stories of exile and homecoming, devotion and doubt, silence and song. And in its circle, all of those contradictions are made whole. As night descends, the stupa glows like a moon risen from the valley floor. The sky above is vast, scattered with stars. And below, a circle of pilgrims and travelers continues to turn, not in haste, but in peace. Tucked within the maze of Kathmandu's old city, the market at Asan pulses like a living artery, never still, never silent. Winding lanes converge into this vibrant square, where vendors call out their wares and the scent of turmeric, fresh ginger, and roasting peanuts floats through the air. Beneath a tangle of power lines and prayer flags, baskets overflow with marigolds, radishes, chilies, and handmade soap. Every step feels like it might lead to something unexpected, and often does. The rhythm of Asan is orchestrated chaos. Motorbikes weave through the narrow passages between pedestrians, chickens, and dogs, while old women squat on the ground, measuring rice with tin cans. The clang of a brass bell echoes from a nearby temple, answered by the clink of coins dropped into a merchant's hand. Every inch is used, every surface holds something. Scarves, statues, incense sticks, or bundles of herbs wrapped in banana leaves. It is here that Kathmandu reveals its practical soul. The sacred and the mundane exist side by side. A temple may rise at the center of a vegetable stall, and the offerings placed on its worn stone ledge are the same items sold in the stall next to it. Devotion is not separated from daily life, it is part of it. A customer may pause mid-bargain to touch their forehead to a deity statue. eyes closed for a moment of prayer. Children dart through the crowd clutching coins, sent by elders to fetch sugar or lentils. A man balances a sack of rice on his shoulder while negotiating the price of apples. Two tailors sit outside a shop, their feet working treadle sewing machines with hypnotic precision. Their fabric bolts hang like colorful banners, catching the light with every breeze. Laughter erupts suddenly from a group of women buying bangles, bracelets clinking as they gesture. Food carts line the walkways, serving spicy aloo chaat, roasted corn and sel roti cooked fresh in sizzling oil. The sweet, smoky scent carries through the crowd like a call to pause and savor. A student bites into a piping hot momo, steam rising into the cool afternoon air, while nearby a monk quietly chews roasted peanuts, his gaze calm amid the bustle. Some corners of the market seem suspended in time. A man selling traditional copper water vessels sits cross-legged on a rug as he has for decades. The patina on the objects is not from neglect, but from reverent use. Shoppers come not just to buy, but to listen to stories of lineage, of craftsmanship, of how a certain style of bowl is better for morning puja than for rice. The objects in Asan carry their own memory and their own presence. As the day wears on, the golden light stretches across the rooftops, catching the edges of temple spires and fluttering flags. The sounds remain, the bartering, the bicycle bells, the low hum of life, but they soften. Vendors begin to pack away their goods, but not all at once. Some linger, talking, laughing, living in the moment long after the business of the day has ended. In Asan, life is not measured in time, but in transactions, gestures, scents, and songs. It is a place where every breath seems tied to 1,000 others, and within its seeming disorder lies an ancient harmony, a melody of Kathmandu that repeats each day, new and yet unchanged. Amid the tangled streets of Kathmandu, where life pulses in the open and every corner seems accounted for, there exist quieter sanctuaries hidden just beyond the eye's reach. Tucked behind wooden doors, down narrow lanes barely wide enough for a bicycle, are the city's secret courtyards, sacred enclosures where time folds in on itself. These are not tourist stops or guided tour points. They are lived-in shrines of stillness. Push through an unassuming gate and the world changes. Noise falls away. A small stone path leads to a quiet courtyard where moss grows between bricks and ancient statues of deities stand under shade trees. Pigeons coo softly from carved window ledges. Bells tinkle faintly in the breeze. Somewhere incense smolders in a hidden alcove, sending up a slow column of sweet smoke. This is not a recreated experience. It is the original rhythm of the valley, pulsing quietly in these forgotten pockets. In these courtyards, the past is not distant. Here stand temples built for gods, both grand and humble, Vishnu, Ganesh, Saraswati, each housed in small shrines no taller than a man, their stone faces worn smooth from the touch of 1,000 hands. Elderly caretakers sweep the spaces before dawn. Offerings of rice, marigolds, and vermilion dot the steps in quiet constellations of faith. Often, there is no barrier between home and temple. Residents live beside the sacred, share walls with the divine. Children chase one another around the base of shrines, their laughter kept gentle by the solemnity of the place. An old woman sits weaving garlands beneath a fig tree, her hands moving with muscle memory rather than thought. Young men sit in a shaded corner, sipping tea and sharing stories in low tones. No one seems rushed. These small spaces hold a wisdom, that peace is not found in silence but in the calm presence of life. The buildings surrounding these courtyards are centuries old. Intricately carved windows known as tikija open onto the quiet space, their wooden frames darkened with age. A single beam of sunlight may find its way through a slat, illuminating the face of a statue or catching the edge of a brass oil lamp. These moments pass unnoticed by most, but for those who pause, the courtyard offers a temple not only to gods but to time itself. Each courtyard has its own character. Some are lush with plants, small pots of basil and jasmine lined neatly along the walls. Others are stark and solemn, with only the stone to speak for them. A few house-sacred ponds, where turtles glide silently below green water. In the early morning or just before dusk, the courtyards feel alive with memory, as if the walls themselves are whispering prayers. To find them is not always easy, but in Kathmandu, the journey is as much the gift as the destination. The city seems to reward patience, curiosity, and a willingness to look beyond the obvious. Those who follow quiet alleys and trust their footsteps often find these spaces waiting, unguarded, unannounced, and open to all. And when one sits alone in such a courtyard, with nothing but the rustle of leaves and the breath of incense in the air, it becomes clear that Kathmandu is not just a city of sights, it is a city of thresholds. And crossing into these hidden places is like stepping into the soul of the valley itself. Across the Bagmati River, just beyond the familiar swirl of central Kathmandu, lies the ancient city of Patan, also known as Lalitpur, the city of beauty. Though it sits so near the capital, Patan holds its own world, shaped by centuries of art, religion, and quiet dignity. Its streets are slightly wider, its courtyards more deliberate, its mood more contemplative. The city moves at a gentler rhythm, like the turning of a prayer wheel slowed by reverence. Patan's Durbar Square glows in the late light, a warm collection of red brick temples and golden rooftops. Tall stone spires catch the sun like fingers reaching toward the divine. The Krishna Mandir, carved from a single grey stone, stands in quiet symmetry with its surroundings, while pigeons circle above in smooth arcs. Locals sit on temple steps chatting softly, sharing tea and stories, while children run across the square chasing shadows with joy. This is a city built by artisans. Every doorway, window frame, and lintel bears the hand of a sculptor, woodworker, or metal caster. Their legacy remains alive not only in the architecture, but in the workshops that still hum behind shuttered doors. You may hear the tap-tap of a chisel, or see molten bronze poured into molds, as sacred figures are born from fire and patience. In Bhutan, art is not an accessory, it is the foundation. The Bhutan Museum, housed in an old palace, whispers the stories of the valley's gods and kings through exquisitely preserved statues and thangka paintings. Wandering through its quiet halls, one feels not like a visitor, but a student in a classroom where time has slowed for contemplation. Outside, the museum gardens bloom with jasmine and marigold, and a gentle fountain trickles beside a shaded bench. Beyond the main square, Bhutan reveals its soul through back alleys and waterspouts. The ancient stone hiti, public fountains fed by underground channels, still offer cold, clean water, and their surroundings serve as meeting places for washing, gathering, or simply resting. A woman in a red shawl fills a copper pot with practiced grace. A boy splashes water on his face, and the sound of it echoes off stone walls like soft applause. Even the food here feels meditative. Bowls of steaming kwati, a 9-bean soup, are served in quiet cafes overlooking the rooftops, while sweet sel roti is sold in paper wrapping still warm from the pan. Dalbat is enjoyed slowly, often with fingers, the ritual of the meal as important as the flavors themselves. A monk smiles as he accepts a bowl from a street vendor, blessing the transaction with nothing but a nod. In the evening, the city glows. Lamps are lit one by one, dotting courtyards and balconies with soft light. The temples take on a deeper hue, their shadows stretching into the cobblestone paths. A dog curls beside a shrine, unmoved by the footsteps around it. The air carries sandalwood and distant chanting. Everything seems to exhale at once. Bhutan does not call loudly. It waits gently. It is a city of soft miracles, of stillness shaped into form. To wander its lanes is to be wrapped in something holy and human at once. And as the stars bloom above its spires, the city of beauty reminds all who enter that peace need not be sought. It can be dwelled in quietly, with eyes and heart open. At the edge of Kathmandu, where the sacred Bagmati River winds past temples and trees, lies Pashupatinath, a place where the veil between life and death feels thinner, yet somehow more comforting. It is among the oldest and most venerated Hindu temple complexes in Nepal, dedicated to Lord Shiva, protector and destroyer. But it is more than a temple, it is a threshold, and those who walk its grounds often find themselves changed. The temple's golden spires shimmer in the morning light, rising above a tangle of stone steps and courtyards. Pilgrims arrive before sunrise, carrying offerings of flowers, fruit, and lamps. The scent of sandalwood and ghee hangs in the air, mingling with the soft chanting of priests and the rustle of leaves stirred by early breezes. Monkeys leap along the rooftops with effortless grace, while holy cows wander freely, their presence unchallenged and respected. Along the eastern bank of the river, ghats stretch out in terraced steps, leading down to the water's edge. Here the sacred and the sorrowful meet. Funeral pyres are lit by grieving families, their rituals guided by tradition and faith. Smoke curls slowly upward, rising like a prayer while mourners sit in stillness beside the flames. The air is heavy, not only with ash but with meaning. Every soul sent off here is embraced by centuries of ceremony. Yet even in its solemnity, Pashupatinath is not a place of sadness. It holds death with dignity, not despair. The cycle of life is accepted, honored, and shared. Beside the cremation ghats, life pulses on. Sadhus with painted faces sit in meditation, their silence deep as stone. A group of boys play by the riverbank, skipping stones across the surface. Tourists observe with hushed respect, their cameras lowered more often than raised. Inside the inner temple, accessible only to Hindus, the linga of Shiva rests in a sanctum bathed in flickering oil light. Even from the outside, one can feel the gravity of the place, the slow, steady pull of centuries of prayer. Bells ring at intervals, marking transitions of ritual and time. Elsewhere in the complex, smaller shrines dot the hillside, each one with its own guardian spirit, each stone worn smooth by reverent touch. As the sun climbs higher, the temple grounds come alive with quiet devotion. A woman in saffron robes lights a butter lamp and places it carefully at the foot of a small shrine. A priest dips into the Bagmati to offer water to the heavens. Birds circle high above, their shadows fleeting across the worn stones. And through it all the river flows, sometimes gently, sometimes fierce, but always forward. Evening brings a softer tone. As dusk settles over the valley, the evening Arati ceremony begins. Lamps are lit, songs sung, and the river flickers with reflected flame. It is a moment of unity, where strangers and locals alike are drawn together by the simple truth of impermanence and presence. Hands fold in prayer. Voices rise in ancient hymns. The light dances, then fades. Pashupatinath is not a place of endings. It is a place of continuity, a reminder that farewell is not the final word. And as the smoke drifts skyward and the river winds onward into the night, the spirit of Kathmandu lingers, quiet, timeless, and unafraid. As the city's edge dissolves into hills, the roads from Kathmandu begin their slow climb toward the heavens. These roads are not just routes, they are rites of passage, winding paths that carry travelers from the noise of daily life into the silence of the mountains. Each curve and bend feels like a turning of the page, and the further one goes, the clearer the air becomes, until even the breath begins to feel sacred. The town of Nagakot lies just a few hours' drive from Kathmandu, but it feels like another world entirely. From its quiet ridgelines, the entire Himalayan range reveals itself at dawn, stretching across the horizon in layers of blue, white, and rose gold. On clear days, even the distant summit of Mount Everest peeks through, ghost-like and luminous. The sunrise here is not a spectacle, but a revelation, soft, slow, and complete. Small villages dot the hillsides along the journey. Dulikal, Kakani, Chisapani, each with its own rhythm, its own offering. Stone houses built from the land itself perch on terraced slopes where mustard flowers bloom bright against green fields. The sound of cowbells and wood chopping echo through the air while the scent of firewood and herbs clings to the breeze. Locals wave as hikers pass by, their smiles as open as the sky. Hiking trails twist through forests of rhododendron and pine, occasionally breaking into panoramic views of valleys below. Pilgrims and trekkers walk the same paths, some in silence, others in gentle conversation. A shrine might appear beside the trail, no grand structure, just a stone painted red, tucked beneath a tree wrapped in yellow cloth. Someone has left a coin, someone else a flower. Tea houses along the way offer not only rest but welcome. A steaming cup of chia served with a view of the clouds below can be more comforting than any grand luxury. Plates of steaming dal bhat arrive with practiced ease, and strangers share long wooden benches, swapping stories of trails, altitudes, and dreams. Sleep here comes early, deep, and without resistance, under roofs that creak in the wind and skies filled with stars. For those venturing further into the Annapurna or Langtang regions, Kathmandu becomes a memory of beginnings. The sacred Gosai Kunda Lake, the monastery at Tengboch, or the base camp trails, all begin with footsteps laid in this valley. Every high journey traces back to the valley's breath, the hum of Kathmandu below. The road is a thread connecting body and spirit, past and present. But not all pilgrimages are long. A single day trip to Pharping or Namabuddha can offer just as much clarity. These hillside sanctuaries, surrounded by forest and sky, welcome those seeking peace without distance. Monasteries echo with chants that seem to rise directly into the clouds, and pathways are lined with prayer flags stretched between trees like bridges of belief. As travelers return to Kathmandu from these lofty places, their steps are slower, their eyes steadier. They have seen the mountains. They have touched a kind of stillness that lingers. The road may have returned them to the valley, but part of their spirit remains above, carried by the wind, tucked into stone, resting on snow. And so the city gathers them back in, not as tourists, but as pilgrims. It offers its temples, its tea, its stories, and for those who have glimpsed the peaks, the rhythm of Kathmandu becomes even more precious, because it is from here that one rises, and it is here that one learns how to rest. As evening folds gently over Kathmandu, the city begins to soften. The daytime rhythm of movement and murmur slows, and a warm glow spreads from temple courtyards and tea house windows. The clang of motorbikes fades, replaced by the softer shuffle of footsteps and the hush of night settling in. Prayer flags no longer flutter wildly. They hang still, silhouetted against a deepening sky. Kathmandu, so full of life by day, becomes a place of inward gaze after dark. From rooftops across the city, small gatherings form. Families seated cross-legged on carpets, sipping tea, sharing stories under the stars. The scent of dal, cumin, and garlic rises from tiny kitchens. Candles flicker in windows, placed before images of gods and ancestors. These small personal shrines glow like lanterns of memory, illuminating rooms filled with both presence and reflection. The city feels older at night and more honest. In Tamil, the energy hums a little longer. Music drifts from cafes and courtyards, a blend of tabla rhythms and soft guitar chords. Travelers lean into conversation over momos and ginger tea, while shopkeepers close their shutters with practiced hands. Strings of lights dangle above alleyways like constellations, and the aroma of incense seeps from every doorway. Even here, where the pace lingers, there is a sense of release, a gentle unwinding as the night unfolds. Elsewhere near the temples, the hush is almost sacred. Monks move quietly through their evening routines. The sound of a conch shell signals the final prayers. A temple bell rings once, low and deep, resonating across rooftops. In the narrow lanes nearby, a sleeping dog curls against a doorstep, breathing in slow rhythm with the wind. Nothing feels rushed. Even time seems to pause. For many, night is a time for return. A porter from the hills walks home with tired feet and a proud heart. A grandmother closes her garden gate after leaving a bowl of milk for the gods. A child whispers a wish to the sky before sleep. The rituals are small, but they bind the city together. In Kathmandu, night does not separate people, it gathers them. The sky is clearer now. Stars peek through the thin mountain air, and the moon casts silver shadows along the ridges of the valley. The Swayambhunath stupa still watches from its hill, its golden eyes reflecting the quiet truths of the city below. Bells chime again, fainter this time, almost like memory. And somewhere, a single lamp still burns beside a rooftop bed, casting a circle of light on the pages of a half-read book. In this quiet hour, Kathmandu becomes a mirror. It shows the day that has passed, the spirit that persists, and the dreams that rise like smoke from a butter lamp. It is not a city that demands, it invites. It does not proclaim, it listens. And for those who let themselves be still long enough, it tells stories that only night can carry. Sleep comes slowly, not as escape, but as embrace. In a valley held by mountains, in a city carved from stone and silence, one closes their eyes not to forget the day, but to carry its beauty into dreams. Kathmandu is not a city that fades when you leave it. It lingers in the hush of temple courtyards, in the echo of chanting bells, in the flutter of colored flags against a pale blue sky. Long after the journey ends, the city's rhythm continues to move within you. It does not demand to be remembered, it simply remains. The streets you once wandered, where incense curled through carved windows and old men nodded with knowing smiles, seem to reappear in your mind's quiet moments. You remember the feel of stone beneath your feet in Durbar Square, the taste of warm tea on a rooftop in Patan, the weight of silence beside the Bagmati River. These are not just memories. They are markers of a gentler way of being, of seeing, breathing, listening. Kathmandu is a place of thresholds, between the sacred and the everyday, between past and present, between the external journey and the one within. You arrived as a traveler, but you leave as someone who has sat with stillness, who has looked into the eyes of ancient statues and found something reflected there, something calm, something enduring. As your eyes close and your breathing slows, the city remains with you, not as noise or movement, but as a soft presence. A prayer wheel still turns, a butter lamp still glows. The mountains rise in the distance, quiet and watching, as they always have. And in this peace you rest. We hope you enjoyed today's serene journey and found peace in our gentle narration. Do join us next time as we make a relaxing visit to another of the world's most iconic places. Sweet dreams and safe travels until we meet again.